Good evening. It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for tuning in here for your AEW Dynamite fix. As I was getting ready to go live here, I saw the news update. Per the Wall Street Journal, we have breaking news, breaking television news. Per the Journal, the NBA is nearing an 11-year, $76 billion, with a B, $76 billion media revenue deal with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. And what that means is that TNT is out of the NBA business after next season. So you get one more year of the NBA on TNT. So enjoy inside the NBA next season. Enjoy Ernie and Shaq and Charles Barkley and the other guy. Enjoy that show because you're only going to get it for one more season. And now we wait and see what effect this is going to have on AEW going forward as they finalize their media rights deal heading into 2025 and beyond. This is a story, I mention it because it will have an impact in some way on AEW. Some people think it may not have a positive effect. I'm not one of those people who happens to think that. I think that if anything, it would have a positive effect, not a negative effect. But the bottom line is nobody knows for sure until the deal is done. But that is a massive deal. $76 billion is a lot of money. I'll go out on a limb right now and say that AEW is not going to get $76 billion. That's not going to happen. They certainly are not going to get $76 billion for this fucking show tonight that we got. Kenny Smith. Okay, I don't want to malign Kenny Smith. Just his name popped out of my head. Fellow New Yorker, I know. But I mean, come on, it's not Shaq or Sir Charles, so easy to forget. But anyway, that is the TNT update on there. Tonight's show was billed around two things. There was a World Championship match, but the big draw was the return of MJF, who we saw at Double or Nothing for the first time since December. And then he wasn't even on the show last Wednesday. But they were all waiting for tonight. They were promoting his return to Dynamite for tonight. They were in Colorado. And his opponent for Forbidden Door, now they did not say Forbidden Door, but it appears to be building towards Long Island. And his opponent for Forbidden Door is not somebody that you would expect. Unless, of course, you watched Dynamite last week when you saw Roosh in the back call out MJF. That probably was a giveaway about where this was going. But yes, Roosh. Roosh was the one who came out to interrupt MJF in mid-promo tonight. And it appears that they are saving that match, I would assume, for the pay-per-view. It was not announced for next week. And so I can only imagine that they are saving it for Forbidden Door because, MJF is certainly not going to be left off that show at the UBS Arena. He's going to be home. He's got to be in the ring in a match against somebody. And I could think of worse people for him to be in the ring with than Roosh. So I actually think that'll be a fine match. And a fine first opponent for him to notch a W over, his first win since he was the world champion late last year. I don't see any issue with that. But, he also in his promo called out two of the top babyfaces, really the two top babyfaces in the company other than himself, and potentially teased a match for Wembley Stadium with one of them. And I certainly hope that I'm wrong about that and that we don't get either one of those matches that he was teasing. Because to do it at Wembley Stadium, I think, would be premature and it would be not the right place to do it. It would also be a slap in the face of the man who currently holds the world title. So hopefully what that was setting up matches for the future. That's what he did tonight. He set up matches, at least two, if not three, potential matches for the rest of the year. Maybe even into next year. But hopefully not for Wembley Stadium against the two babyfaces that he name-dropped. MJF did not declare his intentions to be in the Owen Hart tournament this year, but he should be in there. Did not say anything about the Owen Hart tournament. One person who did, though, was Bryan Danielson. And this was one of my big takeaways from the show. It was a backstage segment. It was inserted later in the show. It was relatively brief. but it was impactful, and I was happy to see it. One of the things that I've been talking about since Tony Khan made the announcement with Martha Hart at Double or Nothing, this new stipulation that they have added to the men's and women's Owen Hart Cup tournaments, where the winners will go on to Wembley Stadium at All in London to challenge for the World Championship, Women's World Championship, AEW World Championship. I like it. I think that's a great move. I think that should be the permanent move going forward. But I've been saying the last couple of weeks, if they're going to do this, then we need top-tier talent in this tournament. We need big names. We need former world champions. We need people who you could see potentially becoming world champion. Hard to believe that Bryan Danielson, for all the great matches that he has had in this company, and all the people who have held that title, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, MJF, CM Punk, all these different people that have been the AEW World Champion, Bryan Danielson has never held that title. And he has been talking about this is it for him as a full-time active performer. He's not quitting the business, but as far as him being in main events, as far as him competing for or holding world championships, you can't be a part-time world champion unless your name is Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar. So Bryan Danielson is not going to be holding the AEW World title, very likely, unless he is full-time. So this is it. This may be his last shot. And he said, if I'm going out, and I'm going to go for it all. So he is going to be in the Owen Hart tournament. I love that move. And I said MJF should be in there as well. All the big names should be in there. But I was very excited to have that name added to the list. Hey, Oz and Glorious, thank you very much. I'm very happy they're actually showing up on screen tonight. Thank God. Fucking YouTube was on the fritz the other night. And then we had Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho made a comment, I think, on the show last week during his TV time segment in the ring. He wasn't kidding when he said that he wants all the segments on AEW television. If he had his way, he would be in every segment on the show. He damn near was tonight. 4 fucking segments they devoted to Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree, on this show. Each one progressively worse than the one that came before it. And now he's threatening to bring back another TV time segment on the show next week. So we're going to get even more of it, although hopefully they keep it to just the one segment. Easily the worst shit on the entire show tonight were these Jericho segments, which either were supposed to be funny and weren't, or went off exactly the way they were supposed to, and they're supposed to be cheesy and over the top, which I'm sure they are supposed to be that way, but it's just fucking awful. I'm sorry. It's just fucking terrible. And to have 4 of them on one show, you know, he walks around, he calls people branches. Oh, you're my branch. I was sitting here wishing I had a branch that I could beat myself over the head with by the time we got to segment number 3. This was a show that after the first segment, which was the MJF segment, so they opened hot, you know, with him coming out for his promo. This is a show where after that first segment, it flatlined. This show just flatlined until the main event. The main event was good. Main event was a very good match. It was Swerve Strickland out there defending the AEW World Championship. Another win for him. Defending the title against Roderick Strong. Look, I will take a championship match over another fucking eliminator match. Okay, we've had enough of those. For the IWGP title, and the AEW World title, and the International title. Hey, at least we got a championship match on this show. But it was a championship match that was set up and made official by Tony Khan on Collision last Saturday. And it was Roderick Strong, who last time we saw him was a Double or Nothing when he lost the International title to Will Ospreay. And so I'm watching Collision on Saturday, and I see Roderick Strong walking through the back, and he stumbles upon Tony Khan. He makes a beeline for Tony Khan at the gorilla position because everybody knows that that's where Tony Khan sits. He's got his headset on, right? This was 3 days after they shot the angle on Dynamite last week to anoint Christopher Daniels as the new interim EVP, acting on behalf of Tony Khan. And as he said in that segment last week, if I come out here and I make a decision, or any decision I make, you know that it was either cleared through him or it's coming from Tony Khan. It's basically Tony Khan's surrogate, in effect. So I'm watching this segment on Collision. I see Roddy go up to Tony Khan and demand a world championship match. Reason being, I'm next strong, and I know that you're next strong, because Tony got dumped on his head. And that was enough for Tony Khan to say, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Roddy, you're going to get a world championship match against Swerve on Collision or Dynamite, whatever the fuck. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, boy, would it not have made more sense to have Roderick Strong, I don't know, go find the Young Bucks and say, hey, I think I deserve a shot at the AEW World Championship. And have the Young Bucks say, you know what? You do deserve a shot at the AEW World title. We saw what happened to you at Double or Nothing, and that wasn't right. So we're going to put you in a match with Swerve, World Championship on the line this Wednesday on Dynamite, right? Because they did the same thing with Christian Cage. That's how we got the main event at Double or Nothing. Christian Cage lost his TNT title to Adam Copeland, did nothing after that to earn the right to challenge for the world title, but he was gifted a world championship match. And the Young Bucks have been, trying to fuck around with Swerve, and Swerve's been getting up in their face, which I like. He should be standing up to the EVPs. And I was just puzzled by this, that Tony Khan, not even Christopher Daniels, who's supposed to be acting on his behalf and making decisions like this, is just standing there silent. And Tony Khan says, yeah, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. That's how we got this match tonight. For those of you who may have been wondering, maybe you don't watch all the shows and you're thinking, well, why would Roddy get a world title match? That's why. Because Tony Khan says, you're next strong? Okay, I'll give you a world title match. And that's how we ended up with our main event on this show. Nobody says it has to make sense, but boy, I sure wish it did. This is AEW Dynamite, your review here for Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. I am the Solomonster, but you already knew that. You like that Tony Khan voice? That's what he sounds like to me. Every time I hear him speak, I was happy to see Christopher Daniels basically take over as his surrogate last week. And it not even a week goes by, and Tony Khan is already back on TV making matches and making decisions. Why even have Christopher Daniels in the role in the first place? Why ask why? Subscribe, like, Super Chats are open, and they are once again appearing in full view on screen, which they were not on Monday. You can thank YouTube for that. But they're back, and so am I. So let's get into this here. Dynamite immediately, and when I say immediately, Big Bang Theory ended, Dynamite came on the air, and the first thing you heard was MJF's theme music, and out he came in his leather jacket. So they were wasting no time. After he missed Dynamite last week, they held him off for a week. They wanted to, I guess, build anticipation. So out he comes, his first Dynamite appearance in many months. He said, if you're wondering why his eyes are all squinty, they're in Colorado tonight. Said he's here to put everybody on notice. He was sitting at home in the most magical place on earth, Long Island, New York, watching a bunch of children making bold claims on his show. He said one calls himself the Rainmaker, and yet it looks like he can't even afford a gym membership. Then there's another one swerving around whose friends in the Mogul Embassy turned on him. And he said Swerve refers to himself as a business mogul. He says business moguls tend to go to school. But if he did, he must have skipped his course on public speaking. But the most egregious claim was from a Cockney cockhead. That's what he called him. Cockney cockhead calling himself the best in the world, bruv. Which is interesting because last time he checked, he isn't Chris Jericho. He isn't Jon Moxley. He isn't Cody Rhodes, Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, or Hiroshi Tanahashi. But you know who managed to beat every single name on that list? That was MJF. So the next time you want to come on his show, he says, and lie through those British teeth of his, watch your tone and check your mouth. Because silly Billy, you're not the best in the world, bruv. He is. He became the face of AEW over the past 5 years, and he created some of the greatest matches, the greatest moments, and the greatest memories in the history of the sport. He became the most hated man walking this planet, only to become the most beloved. And that don't happen by accident. So imagine how he felt when he goes home to heal his wounds from carrying this place, and people had the audacity to try to smear his name. At that point, he was interrupted by Rush, who walked out on stage. And he cut a promo. This is the first time, I think, in all the time that Rush has been signed to AEW that he actually had live promo time on Dynamite out in front of the arena, not in a backstage segment, but he had the chance to walk out there on stage and cut a promo, let alone on one of the biggest stars in the company. So this is a big moment for him. He said, like all these stupid, ugly Americans, MJF never shuts up. He told MJF while he's been gone, he's been here working hard. So now he comes back and he gets a big celebration. Where's my celebration? He wants to know. Where's his big moment? He deserves MJF's spot, so now he's going to take it because when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. See, he didn't say herns like he did last week. He said horns this time. MJF said, I didn't get any of that. He asked the crowd, did you get any of what Rush said? He said, no, I didn't get any of that. And he asked him to run that by him again. And when Rush began talking, MJF told him that they don't give a shit. He said, Rush comes out here in his dime store suit, making his bank account real dry, like every woman he's ever slept with. But he's not going to stand here and pretend that he doesn't know who the man is. He says, you know, at one point I paid you a lot of money to take out Bryan Danielson. He knows how talented Rush is. He says he comes from a wrestling family, wrestling royalty. His father is a wrestling legend. Now, he says some people might call him a Nepo baby for that, but not him. And there were a few fans who chanted that in the crowd. I think that was the whole point. He was going to wait and let the fans chant for it. Some of them did, not everybody. But he's proved that that's not the case when he sold out arena after arena in Mexico. Then he came to the U.S. and in record time, he became a Ring of Honor World Champion. He came to AEW and managed to bludgeon some of the best that this sport has to offer. The problem is, he's not one of the best, he's the best. But out of respect and admiration for Rush, he wants to let him know how him interrupting him really makes him feel. And then he said something clearly very nasty to this man in Spanish. I think he said it got censored. I think he said something about the man's mother. Rush hit the ring. They started slugging it out until Christopher Daniels and a bunch of security geeks came down to the ring to separate them. That didn't work. They had to pull Rush back. Then MJF jumped on top of him. Then they ended up rolling around on the mat until finally they got separated. So what did we get here in this MJF promo? He came out here. He's got his brand new t-shirt that he plugged. He also plugged the pay-per-view, which is on Long Island, so he made sure he mentioned that. But he came out here and he ripped into the Continental Champion, setting up a potential match with Okada at some point. And look, that could be the match at not Forbidden Door. That could be the match at Wembley. Now, if MJF is not going to be in the main event, I would not have him in the main event. He could wrestle Okada. You know, that could be for the Continental title. I figure they're keeping that title warm with Okada until Kenny Omega comes back, but we don't know when Kenny is going to be back. Unfortunately, it seems very unlikely we're going to get that match in London. But that doesn't mean that they can't do Okada and MJF on that show. But he dropped that first little hint that we're going to get that match at some point. And then he called out the two biggest baby faces in all of AEW outside of himself. Three top baby faces right now, indisputably, or as Keith Lee would say, indubitably, right? He loves to throw those words out there. Three biggest baby faces in this company in no particular order: MJF, Swerve Strickland, and Will Ospreay. Case closed. and he called out the other two. And either of those matches could potentially be a main event at Wembley Stadium this year. You could end up with MJF against Will Ospreay if Ospreay beats Swerve at Forbidden Door. You could get MJF and Swerve at Wembley Stadium. Remember the segment last year? They had that backstage meeting between them, that back and forth promo segment. This was in the weeks leading up to World's End. That was the first tease. Nothing came of it because MJF had to go away. Now Swerve is the champion. Could potentially be the match at Wembley Stadium, although it's hard for me to imagine them not wanting Ospreay in the main event this year. So he set up 3 future matches, and then, of course, set up the future match with Rush, which my guess would be is going to take place at Forbidden Door, and I don't have an issue with that. I think Rush is someone who we don't get to see very often. And I think at one point there may have been a visa issue. I know he got hurt as well. More recently, he had that hamstring injury. That was coming out of the Continental Classic. I know he got hurt during the tournament. So there may have been reasons why it's been very start and stop with him. But he's a tremendous talent. Nobody, I think, believes he's going to go over MJF, but that doesn't mean that that's not a perfectly fine first feud for him. I still think MJF, though, should end up in the Owen Hart tournament. Whatever happens with Rush. Rush is a fine first opponent. But everybody should be gunning for the AEW World title, especially MJF, because he wants to get his belt back. So I don't have an issue with them doing this match at Forbidden Door if that's going to be the match. I think that's going to be a great match. We had Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fénix, and Jay Lethal in a 4-way match for the right to challenge for the International Championship on next week's episode of Dynamite. Hey, shout out to Rican Son, who is in the chat. I see you. So we were going to get a number 1 contender here. I should note, I just mentioned the people in this match, right? I mentioned Rey Fénix, and we've got Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy and Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, yet to win a match this year in AEW. We are 6 months into the year. We are just about at the midway point of 2024. This man has yet to win a single match in AEW all year. But he was one of the 4 men chosen for this match, and you had to know coming in why he was chosen to be in this match. And if you still don't get it, it would become pretty apparent here momentarily. Lethal immediately hip-tossed Fénix clear to the floor, and then teased a dive, opted though for a Fargo strut instead. I know I bust out into a random Fargo strut various times during the day, even when I used to be in the office, you know. I have to get up and go to the bathroom, perhaps on the way back from the bathroom, as I'm passing by that cute girl at her desk, I might do a little Fargo strut, you know, back to my seat. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. So this led to Cassidy flying in with the top rope crossbody and a dive out onto Fénix. O'Reilly jumped in. He targeted Cassidy's arm. Kyle saved Fénix from a lethal injection, but ate a thrust kick for his troubles, and we got a wild series of kicks and lariats by Fénix and O'Reilly. Everybody was down heading into the commercial break. Cassidy connected on a Stun Dog Millionaire on Lethal. Tried one on Kyle, caught him though in an armbar. Fénix flew in with a splash to break it up. Lethal came diving in with a top rope elbow. Spinning DDT attempt by Cassidy got countered into a figure 4 by Lethal. O'Reilly, though, applied a guillotine on Fénix at the same time. The match broke down. Cassidy blasted O'Reilly with an orange punch. Lethal caught Kyle with a lethal injection, and then Lethal went for a figure 4 on Rey Fénix. Fénix, though, countered into a roll-up for the flash pin and the win. And, of course, who takes the losing fall here in this match? Jay Lethal. Literally the only reason that Jay Lethal was in this match. Literally the only reason Jay Lethal, frankly, is in most of the matches that he is in. On those rare occasions you see him on AEW television, more often than not, it is to eat the pin, it is to take the losing fall. It's a shame, he's a talented guy, but that's his role on the show. So I don't even need to know who he's going to be in the ring with. As soon as I hear that music and I see him come out and I see Sanjay Dutt, I know that he's on job duty. And that was no different here. And honestly, when I saw the lineup here for this match, Kyle O'Reilly just recently, only a few weeks ago, had a shot at the international title, maybe a month ago. So I knew it wasn't going to be him. Jay Lethal, again, the man, if the man played the lottery and you gave him all the winning numbers, he would still lose. Okay, he's not winning anything. So you eliminate Kyle, you eliminate Lethal, that leaves Phoenix and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy has an issue with Trent Beretta and the Callis family. And frankly, what the fuck do we need to see Orange Cassidy back with the international title for, right? He's already had plenty of time with that title. So Rey Fenix was honestly the kind of the de facto winner when you looked at this lineup coming into this. So I figured it was going to be him. Now look, Will Ospreay might not be getting the match that he wants with Ricochet. Okay, he's practically on bended knee trying to convince Ricochet to come to AEW so the two of them can work together again. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's going to get the next best thing. He's getting Rey Fenix. We're getting Will Ospreay and Rey Fenix in the ring next week for the international title on Dynamite. So for all of the crazy, insane matches that we have seen in this company in these last 5 years, and there have been a lot of them, and there have been a lot of multi-man matches, this match next week that we are about to see between these two men may seriously end up being the most insane one-on-one that we have gotten to date in AEW. When you consider who is in this match and what they are probably going to do, this is going to be pure insanity next week. And I can't wait to see it. Now, after the match, Trent Beretta came out with Don Callis to attack Cassidy with a chair. Cassidy went outside. He grabbed a chain from underneath the ring, climbed back inside. Now here comes Chris Statlander. And Chris Statlander gets in between them to keep them apart and to hold back Orange Cassidy. We hear Stokely Hathaway's voice, and he comes walking out with a microphone, says that Statlander is going to put her foot so far up his ass, he'll be coughing up shoe leather. Statlander then decked Cassidy, and then Willow Nightingale sprints out from the back. Statlander and Hathaway bailed. Stokely ended up piggybacking on Statlander's back as they backed up the ramp. And that was the end of that. From this point on, boy, this show was, I don't know. This show was a mix of terrible, like these Jericho segments, and just, a bunch of segments that just wasn't terribly exciting. Really not until the main event. So we had our first of 4. I said 4 segments on this show with Chris Jericho. I didn't ask for 1. We got 4. We had a black SUV. I never thought I would sit here and tell you that I wish that the Young Bucks would have walked out of the SUV. That's who I thought it was at first. I thought it was going to be the Elite. Instead, we have a black SUV that pulls up in the parking lot outside. And who comes out? Chris Jericho. And Jericho's he's got that big cheesy smile on his face. He's got the FTW title around his waist, shirt's open. And he's waving. He's waving at people, waving at the cameras. He walks up to the driver's side window. He reminds the driver that you have to come to a full and complete stop. Big Bill and Brian Keith, they join Jericho outside the car. And Brian Keith was upset because he thought the cameraman's work was very shaky. I guess this was disrespectful to Chris Jericho. So Jericho took the camera from him. And he was filming Big Bill. Bill said the sun was shining and he loves the little things in life. Brian Keith told the cameraman that he wouldn't have a shaky-ass camera if he respected Jericho. So I guess this is his gimmick now. Not only is he a bounty hunter, but the gimmick now, he's got this comedy gimmick where he is irritated by everything, and everything is perceived to be disrespect towards Chris Jericho, and he's like an angry little elf. He's got that look on his face, and he's just very upset. That's his chronically angry gimmick now that he has. So Jericho gives the camera back to the cameraman and tells him, "Follow me into the building." This is awful. I wrote that here. I said, this is awful. Now, I thought that Jericho was going to come into the building. He was going to come out to the ring, cut a promo. That would have been the end of it. Little did I know. We'll get back to him in a bit. Renee interviewed Willow Nightingale in the back, who said that Mercedes Moné is the TBS champion, but there is a score to settle someday because she had Mercedes pinned in their match at Double or Nothing. She had her down for a good 8 count. That was when Stokely had the referee distracted, or Stokely and Statlander had the referee distracted. So Willow said that she would have trusted Chris Statlander with her life, and she betrayed that. Orange Cassidy walked by, gave her a weak little fist bump, and walked off. Christopher Daniels, the new interim EVP in AEW, comes walking out onto the stage. He even got an entrance. He got a video, music. He walked out on stage to announce that on June 30th at Forbidden Door, they will crown a new TNT champion, which was already announced. They're going to crown a new TNT champion in a ladder match. And they're going to have a series of qualifying matches. Now, we already had the first qualifying match on Friday on Rampage last week. Konosuke Takeshita, he beat Penta, who I don't even think can be on the show because of some sort of political issue. I guess, does he work for AAA maybe? And with CMLL being on the... Anyway, I don't even think Penta can be on the Forbidden Door show. So he was never going to go anyway. But Takeshita beat him, so Takeshita has already advanced into the ladder match on June 30th. He said, right now we're going to have another qualifying match. And that brought out the Ring of Honor World Champion, Mark Briscoe, who walked out. His opponent was Brian Cage. And the announcers, like Excalibur tried. Oh, Brian Cage. Right? He comes out, looks like $1 million. But again, the problem, it's the Jay Lethal thing where he doesn't win. He doesn't win. So, yes, of course, he looks like he can rip you apart, and then, or swallow you whole, but he never wins. So, as soon as he walked out, you knew. Plus, again, the Ring of Honor World Champion is not going to get beat by Brian Cage. So, predictable as it was, they still had a good match. Cage controlled early with the power game. Briscoe countered with the baseball slide through the ropes. Briscoe threw a chair into the ring. Paul Turner, though, quickly removed it, and this allowed Cage to recover and take control. Briscoe mounted a comeback with some redneck kung fu. They showed Don Callis with Konosuke Takeshita. They were up in the crowd watching and scouting the competition. Briscoe now was bleeding from the mouth. He sent Cage crashing outside. Then he set the chair up in the ring, Sabu style, hit the ropes, and then did a somersault off the chair, somersault dive onto Cage. Then they cut to Jack Perry, who was in the back watching on a flat screen monitor. The J Driller got blocked by Cage, who hit a ripcord elbow and a sit-out pump handle slam for 2. Spinning Liger Bomb got another 2 for Brian Cage, who then wanted the drill claw, but Briscoe floated over, hit a rolling DVD, and then the Froggy Bow for the win. Now, backstage, they cut back to Jack, and Perry was applauding Briscoe's win as he's looking at the screen. And then he turned to face the camera, and he said that it won't matter as nobody is willing to make as big of a sacrifice for AEW than I am. And he said that he is destined to win the TNT title no matter what Tony Khan thinks. Now, he cut this promo with Mark Briscoe watching his promo in the background on the screen. I feel like this is some sort of weird inception here. So as Jack Perry was talking on the monitor right behind him, right over his shoulder, you saw Mark Briscoe in the arena, standing on the ring steps, looking up, watching the promo, which I thought was actually a very unique way to shoot this. And again, it's a minor thing. Most people may not even notice it, but I thought that was a very cool, very unique way of shooting that I've not seen before. So, again, we've got Takeshita. Now we have Mark Briscoe, and we know that Jack Perry, whether he has to qualify or not, is going to be in the ladder match. He'll make 3. I don't know that they've said how many people are going to be in this match, if it's going to be 6, if it's going to be 8, 5. I would imagine probably 6 people are what we're going to have in the ladder match. We'll see who else qualifies. Perry is still my pick to win the title. Before Adam Copeland got hurt, I was saying it then. I think all roads lead to him dropping the title to Jack Perry. Just because he got hurt It doesn't mean that you don't follow through. If that was the plan, then you see that plan through to the end. It only makes sense. They're pushing Jack Perry. They already have gold in the Elite. He should bring the TNT title into the Elite. It's what makes sense. Don't deviate from the plan. Renee was in the back with Samoa Joe and Hook and asked if it was safe to call him Hook's new mentor. Joe said that he wouldn't call this a mentorship, but then he was quickly interrupted by Tony Nese, Aria Daivari, and Smart Mark Sterling. When was the last time we saw these men on Dynamite? They've been hanging around on Ring of Honor. The hell are they doing here? But there they were. And Tony Nese said, "You've got to be kidding me." That's what I said when they walked into camera frame. He said, "You've got to be kidding me. After all these years, you would think that Hook would stop eating this crap and start taking things a little more seriously." Hook was standing there this whole time eating what looked like from a bag of onion rings. I mean, I don't know if they were onion rings or not. They looked like it. Boy, I haven't had onion rings probably 25 years. I mean, I've had fried onion rings. I mean, like out of a bag, though. Haven't had onion rings in a very long time. But anyway, so he was chowing down. So Nese then took the chips right out of his hand. Daivari then said that he looked over at Hook and said, "What's the matter? You ain't got your daddy to protect you, so you need the former champion?" So Joe had to hold back Hook, and then he said that they're going to handle that, but they're going to do it on their time. I should note that Tony Nese, I said before, Jay Lethal has yet to win a match this year on AEW television. I'll do you one better. Tony Nese has yet to even have a match on AEW television. You can say the same thing for Aria Daivari as well. So what they say doesn't exactly carry much weight. Let's just put it that way. Backstage, it was another learning tree segment. Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith. They run into Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, two former members of the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho said they were two of his favorite branches, like they're a couple of fucking libraries. He said their careers are now bigger and better than bigger and better than ever. That's what he said. Menard, I should mention, Matt Menard just replaced Chris Jericho on commentary on Rampage. So if you tuned out of Rampage a long time ago, I mean, you have many reasons to tune out of Rampage, but if you tuned out of Rampage because you were tired of the incessant screeching of Chris Jericho on commentary, fear not, because Matt Menard has now taken over for him full time. And I've heard nothing but good things about Matt Menard on commentary. What commentary I have heard of him, he was very good. So it sounds to me like that's a role that he could be very good at. Not that that means he's not going to wrestle anymore, but good for him. I'd rather listen to him on commentary than Jericho anyway. So Jericho told them to enunciate their words when they speak. Big Bill then sounded the word out, whatever the word was, and then Matt Menard told him to shove it up his ass. Jericho and Bill agreed that was a good one. And Jericho gave parenting advice to Angelo Parker, who was expecting a little one with Ruby Soho. And then they walked off, and Brian Keith told Angelo Parker he better make sure that the baby respects Jericho. And then he walked off. Oh, boy. This was only the second segment. We had two more of these. The Acclaimed made their way out to the ring with William Gunn. Max Caster started rapping about the EVPs and saying mean things about them. When Matthew and Nicholas Jackson appeared on the big screen, they said, cut the music, cut them off, right? They cut them off in mid-rap. Matthew said that the employee handbook says not to disparage the EVPs, and he told them to leave the arena because their segment has been cut. And so they left. And that was the end of that. Now, I'm not sure why they are allowed to get away with doing this when they have already established to us that Tony Khan is present and sitting at Gorilla every single week. They established that very clearly on Collision last Saturday. They established it at Double or Nothing when Jack Perry walked right up to him and dragged him out into the arena. And Tony Khan went rolling down the ramp before Jack got set on fire. So they make it very clear. We know where Tony Khan is, right? He's back. He's on headset. He's doing his job. He's doing his thing. And it's just one of these things where, how is it that Tony Khan trumps the Young Bucks because he's the president and CEO of the company, right? Whatever EVP power the Bucks have, Tony Khan can certainly overrule them, or he can then come right back and rule in a different way. So why is it that the Young Bucks are allowed to get away with this, right? It's just one of those things. When you have multiple authority figures like this, it just gets very messy. And there really is no logical explanation for it. You just have to roll with it. I know what they're doing here. I know what they're going for. They're setting up a match, an eventual match and a feud with the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed. And the Acclaimed can use something right now because the Acclaimed have been severely cooled off. Their peak of popularity passed a while ago. And they need to come up with something for them to do. And clearly they're building towards a tag team title match with the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed. And so this is why they shot the angle here that they did. There was a segment later on in the show where the Acclaimed tried to get at them. Like, oh, we're not here to talk. I just wanted to let them know that basically we're going to get you soon enough. We're going to get our hands on you. So they're building to a match. But again, this is why if you're going to do an angle on TV where you take Tony Khan and you drop him on his head and you injure him, this big injury angle, he should be out for a while. And then let the Young Bucks run roughshod on the show for a while, until either he comes back or he sends a surrogate in his place. But they did this the week of the NFL draft. Apparently they were filming some kind of documentary and they were following Tony Khan around, and that's probably part of why they did the angle. But Tony Khan was out for days, not even weeks, days. Got dropped on his head, was still smiling, had the neck brace on. But it would make more sense if you would at least let the man stay out for a little while and then do stuff like this. But when you bring him back so quickly, it's just silly. He's back. He's already back. How is he okay with this? How is he okay with the Young Bucks abusing their power and cutting a segment out of the show when he is sitting there at the desk in the back? He's sitting there going, shit. All right, well, I guess Matt and Nick, they just cut this segment out of the show. All right, on to the next. It's just silly. I'm sorry. It's just very silly. So that was the end of that. And then it was on to Renee in the back to speak with the AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. Finally, somebody I wanted to see. Said that his title will be on the line in the main event against Roderick Strong. She wanted to know how he was feeling heading into the match. First, he welcomed back MJF, called him a little bitch. Boy, he likes using that word, right? He called the Young Bucks, said it was a bitch move, what they did to Tony Khan. Now he calls MJF a bitch. Said that he finally showed up to work. And he mentions his name. Says, you mention my name, you're going to deal with me. And not in the way that you're going to like. He also had a manila envelope in his hand, and he handed it over to Prince Nana. It was the contract, signed, sealed, and delivered for an AEW World Championship match at Forbidden Door with Will Ospreay. He told Prince Nana, send it to Will Ospreay in the United Kingdom. I'll even pay for the postage. Well, boy, it's a good thing he didn't lose his title in the main event. If he would have already mailed that contract out, that would have been embarrassing. If the contract went all the way overseas to the UK and he lost his title in the main event, which I'm sure so many of you were expecting him to do. Whew. Boy, was that a bullet dodge. So anyway, he hands the envelope over to Prince Nana. And he said, tonight, world title match with Roderick Strong. Understand you are dealing with the mountain of professional wrestling. He's letting him know he's not just going to knock him off of it, he's going to bury him under it. Also, what's been on his mind lately is the EVPs. Said he was disappointed to see Team AEW lose at Anarchy in the Arena, but make sure the next time that you assemble a Team AEW to represent AEW, that you include the AEW World Champion. Which is sound advice, by the way. It would only make sense for the AEW World Champion to want to represent his brand. And the first thing I thought of when he made that comment, I thought of Blood and Guts. They're going to be doing a Blood and Guts match, I assume maybe in the next month, month and a half. Right? It's usually around this time that they do it. Maybe they're setting up for Swerve to be on Team AEW this time around. Right? Has to be building to something. So, Blood and Guts will be here before you know it. What other story makes sense for Blood and Guts if not the Elite against some semblance of an AEW team? Swerve may be on it this time. But this was good. A good promo here from the champion in the back. And the more airtime, the more face time he gets on the show, the better. Now, Excalibur informed us that the match at Forbidden Door, which is now official, with Mercedes Moné and Stephanie Vicaire, the reigning CMLL Women's World Champion and New Japan Strong Women's Champion, is going to not only be champion against champion, it will be title for title. Now, I believe, and actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if he specified this. If he did, then feel free to let me know in the chat. But Vicaire has 2 titles. I believe it was in reference to the New Japan Strong Women's title, not the CMLL Women's title. But again, I could be wrong. So I don't know if that means that both of her belts are going to be on the line, but I took that to mean that the Strong Women's title would be on the line and the TBS title would be on the line. But in any event, that's going to be a great match. We already knew that. Now the stakes have been raised. Now that we know it's going to be title for title. Then we got a video package showing the history of both women with some commentary provided by Mercedes herself and how she defeated Vicaire in the semifinals of the New Japan Strong Women's title tournament last year. That was the same night that she broke her ankle in the finals with Willow Nightingale. She said that she is taking the title that she was supposed to win last year. And it is the Strong title. Okay, that's what I thought. So I think it's only Vicaire's New Japan Strong Women's title. Mercedes is going to win that title. Mercedes was going to win that title last year had she not gotten hurt. So this is really just getting back to the original plan. They wanted her to be the first champion. That didn't happen. That couldn't happen. So now she'll get the belt that she was supposed to get a year ago. Because Stephanie Vicaire is now winning the TBS title. But I am looking forward to that match. It's going to be a great one. We had the Blackpool Combat Club, which included the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and the returning Wheeler Yuta, who has been out of action for 6 months. He had lingering concussion symptoms, had a really bad concussion some time ago, and has been out for quite a while. He just got medically cleared, so it was good to see him. They took on Team CMLL, which was Magnus, Volador Jr., Rugido, and Esfinge. The Sphinx. 4-on-4. It's Forbidden Door season, and also we had the Blackpool Combat Club against Team CMLL at Arena Mexico back in March, which Yuta was not able to be a part of. That's when Matt Sydal stood in for him. And the CMLL guys won that match. So if you're looking for a reason why is this match happening? Those are the reasons why. There was already an issue between the two sides. And again, there is CMLL involvement in Forbidden Door this year, unlike previous years. So we're going to start to see some CMLL talent on TV. So that's why this match is taking place. So Yuta threw the first shot, and all 8 men brawled outside the ring to kick things off here in this match. Late in the match, we had Volador.
Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on me.
Having Khan out for
I just want you to know,
run roughshod.
I think you rock.
That's not what
I don't mean
is
The
about.
Rock,
The only
A-Rock.
story they're invested in is for 14
And I just wanted you to know that.
boys. I apologize if this sounds mean. I'm just frustrated.
That was Dark Effect chiming in with a $100 super chat. Dark Effect. Lowering the boom here. Love seeing those bombs. I love seeing those bombs. Hey, Dark Effect, thank you very much, brother. I'm going to read your super chat here in just a little bit. Don't you worry. My British friend was talking over it. We'll have to look into that there, but thank you, Dark Effect. Boy, these Brits, man. These Brits are a chatty bunch. Anyway, late in the match, Volador hit a destroyer on Claudio for a near fall that got a good reaction. Moxley dropped Magnus with a paradigm shift. Volador put Claudio down with a Hurricane Rana. And then ran into a Busaiku knee from Bryan Danielson. Yuta ended up pinning Rugido with the seatbelt. You can sense my excitement level here for this match. Off the charts. I just can't get into this. I couldn't get into this. But I will say, for someone who's been out for 6 months, I thought Yuta looked good. It looked like he didn't miss a beat. You could tell he's been dying to come back. I'm sure he's been waiting and waiting. And he made the most of it tonight. I thought he looked good. But that's really all I have to say about that. It was a win for the Blackpool Combat Club. That's it. I don't got nothing else to offer on that. So now, although I wish I would talk about that more, because now we return you to the adventures of the Learning Tree. Chris Jericho. We already had 2 segments. This was segment number 3. In the back, he walks up to a random branch, as he is now calling them. These are all his branches. He walked up to a random branch who was scooping up some food from the buffet. Jericho said that as a guy who's been eating chicken and dumplings for many years, I'm not going to say anything. As a guy who's been eating chicken and dumplings for many years, he wants to show him how to scoop it properly. He goes, you get it all the way to the top, and then you put it in your bowl, and that's the best way to dollop it out. And he said, thanks, guys. And he walked off, because that's his line now. Even if there's only one person there, the punchline at the end is, thanks, guys. And he walks off. He disappears. I wish I could disappear. I would say at this point now, this was the 3rd one that we had on this show. And I would tell you that I thought it was getting old, but the minute that Jericho stepped out of the SUV, it was already old. And I thought, okay, that's gotta be it. Right? Has to be. But it wasn't. Like I said at the beginning of this, I wish I had a branch that I could beat myself unconscious with. And then when I wake up, the segments are over. We had a Daniel Garcia video package that aired. He talked about being home in Buffalo and how it brings him back to when he was a 20-year-old wrestler, making long trips to independent shows. He recalled the car accident that nearly killed him and broke both of his legs, which Jericho actually contributed to the GoFundMe, which is why he ended up in the Jericho Appreciation Society. That's a true story. He said he's grateful for that moment because he realized life is too short to wait for opportunities to come to you. And he talked about challenging Will Ospreay for the international title and said that you can't outgrind or outwork him. So we'll see, I guess, when that happens to me. Maybe that could be a Forbidden Door match. Even though Ospreay's already in the main event, that does not mean that he cannot defend his title. I'll talk more about that later because I was thinking about this. Matthew and Nicholas in the back were joined by Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, Killswitch, and Mother Wayne in their office. Cage said that if there's anyone he can trust, it's the EVPs. By the way, great hour-long interview Chris Van Vliet posted earlier today with Christian. I haven't gotten through the entire thing yet.
Off is a direction you can fuck.
Thank you, Ted Evans. Just like hearing this super chat. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you for the $23. I aim to please. But anyway, if you have not already checked it out, it's a great interview. And he's very candid in it. More candid than I think I've ever heard him ever in any interview like this. So go check that out. I'll tell you what, though, just as a little side note here, and I think they started this maybe during the pandemic, but Copeland and Christian, they're in business together. They have an exercise product. It's like a piece of exercise equipment. I am not someone who planks. I know planking is a thing, but it's basically like a plank board. I think it's called Pure Plank is the name they gave it. It's interesting because it's got handles on it. I guess to help, kind of cushion your arms when you're down on the ground. I don't know if anybody watching this or listening to this has tried it or has bought it, specifically their product. But if so, I'd love to hear from you because I was considering it. It's expensive though. It's like $120. I could get on the floor right now and fucking plank without a board. But I would consider it because it looks like an interesting product, but I don't know if anybody's actually tried it. So if you have, let me know. Because, a lot of these things are gimmicks and stuff. But I saw Copeland just had surgery for his fractured tibia. And Ever, the promoter, he posted a video and he's like 12 hours out of surgery. He walks into his garage and what does he do? He's on the ground on his planking board. His foot is in a cast and he's planking on his board. Ever the self-promoter he is. So anyway, we have the patriarchy here talking to the Young Bucks. And Christian said that he was screwed out of the World Championship at Double or Nothing. He wants another shot. Wants one more shot at Swerve Strickland. Matt said, look, you guys are one of the best factions. All of you deserve gold. If we could, we'd have a belt for you and a belt for you and a belt for you. I mean, isn't that the AEW way? A belt for you, a belt for you, a belt for me, a belt for her, a belt for him, a belt for that kid right there. He goes, if we could do it, we would do it. He said they tried to take care of a friend, that being Jack Perry, but Tony Khan screwed it all up. Matt said that they still have some pull, and they would see what they could do. In the meantime, he said, you keep scratching our back, and we'll scratch yours. And off they went. Mariah May with Timeless Tony Storm taking on Saraya with Harley Cameron and Saraya's brother Zach in her corner. Tony Storm gave Mariah a kiss for good luck before joining the commentary booth. Saraya attacked Mariah before the bell, but Mariah quickly fired back with a forearm shot. Tony Storm tells Mariah May to smash Saraya's tits. And she also said that AEW is where the breast wrestle. This woman is a national treasure. This woman needs to be protected at all costs. I can't believe there are people out there. There are some people who are tired of the Timeless Tony Storm gimmick and think that she should just end the entire thing. How? How are there people who don't appreciate Tony Storm, whatever she sits in on commentary? It's gold. I would sit through 1,000 Tony Storm on commentary segments over the fucking learning tree. Are you kidding me? AEW is where the breast wrestle. This guy, I mean, that's the only way Tony Khan may be able to boost the Dynamite ratings. Although I will say the ratings were up quite a bit this past week. We'll see what the numbers are this week. I'm very curious. But anyway, Mariah hit a spinning side suplex. Saraya was forced to regroup outside, and so the chase was on. Harley Cameron missed the lariat. Saraya, though, caught her with a thrust kick to take control of the match during the commercial break. Mariah mounted a comeback and connected with some sweet cheek music for two. Saraya applied the inverted sharpshooter with the double chicken wing. As Tony on commentary was pleading with Mariah, she goes, you can't be in that move for very long. It's a very painful hold. And finally, Mariah May gave up. And I'll tell you what, I know it shouldn't because Saraya is the more established of the two, and Saraya is a former AEW Women's World Champion, but this felt like an upset to me. I mean, this really did. Think of the TV time that has been devoted in the last couple of months to Mariah May, the wins that she's been racking up. How often have we seen Saraya on AEW Dynamite in the last several months? Right? I mean, not very often. Her last singles match was in December. So this felt very much like an upset to me. Toni Storm rushes into the ring. Uffman. Entertainment. How can one not love timeless Toni Storm? I agree. I agree. So Toni gets into the ring to go check on Mariah. Saraya, though, and Harley attack, put the boots to the both of them when here comes Mina Shirakawa of Stardom. And she comes running down to the ring, and she cleans house, and then she goes over and she comforts Mariah May. Toni Storm is in the corner, and she kind of shakes off the cobwebs, looks over, and she sees this. She sees Mina with Mariah. Now, Mina is challenging Toni Storm for the Women's World title at Forbidden Door, so they're going to be on opposing sides. So Toni Storm sees this, she gets up, and she rushes over to Mina, and they go tits to tits. And Mariah then ends up stepping between them to play peacemaker, and she rests both of their heads on her bosom. And each woman then played tug of war, essentially tug of war, pulling Mariah's head to their chest. So the match at Forbidden Door, technically, is for the AEW Women's World title. But really, if we're being honest here, it's for the heart of Mariah May. And the bosom of Mariah May. Which is something a lot of us, I think, would be willing to fight for. We were not done yet with the learning tree. I said there was one more. Chris Jericho was in the back, and he approached Private Party. He told Cassidy and Mark Quinn that parties are more fun when they are open to everyone. And he said, maybe you guys should call yourselves Public Party. Cassidy said they don't really fit the Private Party vibe. Big Bill said that those who need advice the most don't realize that they need the help. And Jericho invited Private Party to be on his TV Time talk show segment next week. Wonderful. Can't wait. Backstage, Bryan Danielson is standing there all by himself. And he puts over Wheeler Yuta, winning the match for his team earlier tonight, said that he couldn't be prouder. He said 8 months ago, he said this was his final year as a full-time wrestler. And to be honest, it hasn't been what he wanted. He lost to Christian Cage for the TNT title. He lost in the finals of the Continental Classic. He lost to Okada in the Tokyo Dome. Every big match didn't he lose also to Zack Sabre? I thought he lost the rematch to Zack Sabre Jr. Every big match he says he loses. And the straw that broke the camel's back was losing in Anarchy in the Arena. Danielson said his career is not over yet. So when Tony Khan announced the winner of the Owen Hart tournament gets an AEW World title shot at All In London, that got him excited. He said this could be his last shot, and if he's going out on top. That's right. This was great. This was great. And the first big name to throw his name in the hat for the Owen Hart tournament is Bryan Danielson, someone who somehow has never been the AEW World Champion before. And would certainly be deserving of at least a short run with the title. I don't know that he'll ever get it. But I'm very happy that he is in the tournament. And there's any number of ways this can go, because I don't see Danielson winning the tournament. You know, a year ago before Wembley, I thought the direction, and I think since then we've learned that I think it was talked about, but Bryan got hurt, and he wasn't on the show, was Bryan Danielson. Oh, boy. Yeah. See, that right there is more entertaining than the learning tree. Why don't you give me 4 fucking segments on TV? That's a bridge too far. I wouldn't go so far as to say put that on TV. But Dark Effect, thank you for the Brie mode. $25 Brie mode from Dark Effect on top of the $100 bomb that he dropped earlier on. Man, Dark Effect, showing some love. I'm feeling the love tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. But Danielson against Nigel McGuinness, I thought was going to be the match last year. I still think that's going to be the match this year. I think Nigel would love to have a match at Wembley. And God knows now, for the last year, he's been healing on Danielson on Collision, on commentary, every chance he gets. It's got to be building to a match between the two, and Wembley would be the perfect place for it. So I don't see Danielson winning the tournament, but I'm damn sure happy he's in it. And let's see who he ends up fighting, too, because, again, you put some big names in this thing, and we could get some really great fucking matches in this tournament. That's the other reason I'm excited. If you get big names in there, you get 8 big names in this tournament, let's say. I mean, it's like the Continental Classic. I mean, you can get any number of interesting matchups in it, and you could spin them off even into matches that could happen at Wembley or, some other time. So that's where I think the Owen tournaments can end up being a lot of fun, but very happy to hear that Danielson is going to be part of that tournament. The main event was Swerve Strickland defending the AEW World Championship against Roderick Strong with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett in his corner. This was very good stuff from these two, no surprise there. Strickland tried a house call kick early, only for Roddy to take a powder outside. Matt Taven ran distraction. Roddy hit a backbreaker across the top rope. Strong hit a baseball slide, only for Swerve to catch him. He catapulted him into the ring post outside, leading to one final commercial break. Hey, there's Uncle Saudi. Everybody say hello to Uncle Saudi. Always good to see him drop in here on these streams. Every time he drops in on stream, I get a $50 million payoff. I like seeing Uncle Saudi on here. So Strong took control during the break. Swerve, though, fired off a desperation Swerve stomp for the reset. Hit the leaping uppercut from the middle rope, and then did the rolling flatliner and brainbuster for a near fall. Strickland wanted big pressure, but Bennett distracted, and Strong was able to avoid it. Taven and Bennett again ran distraction out at ringside, and they caught Swerve on a dive, but almost didn't. It was a very sloppy catch. They almost dropped him. Excalibur said, well, they're not being ejected by the referee because they technically did not do anything to Swerve. Right. Outside of the gazillion distractions and all the attempts to interject themselves into the match, they haven't done anything so far. So we'll take the heat off the referee. Sure thing. So this allowed Roddy to hit a flipping suplex, the X-Plex, onto the edge of the apron. Landed like neck first, Swerve did, right on the edge of the ring. That looked brutal. So back inside, Strong hit a code breaker off of a rolling flatliner attempt, and then it followed with the angle slam, tiger driver, and sick kick combo. Only got a 2 count out of it. Both men went to the apron. Swerve swept out the legs, so Roddy was dangling off. His feet were under the bottom rope. Swerve, slingshot over the top rope, hit a stomp to the floor. Back inside, Strong sidestepped the house call, but Swerve caught the pump knee and finally hit the house call kick for the win. And so, I know you're all going to be very shocked by this, but to the surprise of absolutely no one, Swerve Strickland beats Roderick Strong and retains his AEW World title, and it will be Swerve Strickland, one-on-one with Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. Prince Nana can go to the post office now in the morning, and he can fire off that contract to Will Ospreay over in the UK. And the show ended, I should mention this, the show actually ended with Swerve and Prince Nana out at ringside with an old lady, an old woman who was sitting front row ringside. And they were swerving with the old lady. Old lady was getting into it in the front row. Always good to see Stunt Granny out there. Haven't seen Stunt Granny in a while, but there she was, enjoying herself. So now that we know it's official, where are they going to go with this? This is the $1 million question here, because this is going to have very big implications for All in London. We have Swerve and Will Ospreay. I have no issue with them doing this match in the main event of Forbidden Door. I think it's great. It keeps Swerve front and center now for the rest of the month. This is going to be the main event, clear-cut main event on that show, right? It's not Swerve against the CMLL talent. It's not Swerve against the New Japan talent. It's an AEW match for the AEW World Heavyweight title. What do you do? What you do, and the reason I hope that they're doing this match now and not waiting until London, is because we're going to get more than one match out of it. Swerve Strickland needs to win this match. I feel it would be a huge slap in the face if he walks in there and loses the title. You know, he won the title at Dynasty. He had one pay-per-view title defense so far. That was against Christian Cage. He's had a couple on TV against Claudio and against Roddy. But now he's going to go in there against Will Ospreay, who is riding this wave of momentum, undefeated since signing with AEW, international champion. One of the biggest baby faces, if not the biggest baby face in this company right now. It's either him or MJF. I can't say Swerve, as popular as he is. Swerve is 2 or 3. He's not number 1 now. But he's up there. Those are your top 3. I would not take the title off Swerve at Forbidden Door. I think that would be a mistake. I think Swerve needs to win. He could win by cheating. I mean, hell, if they want to turn him back heel again. But he has to win. You've got the Owen Hart tournament coming up. Before I even knew they were going to do this match this quickly, I had Will Ospreay pegged to win that tournament and going to the main event at Wembley, challenging for the world title. I would not change a thing. I still think that Will Ospreay should win the Owen. He should be in the Owen. He should go to the main event at Wembley. He should win the championship at Wembley Stadium. That is the place for him to win it, not in New York. It would be booking foolishness to put the world title on Will Ospreay on Long Island when you're 2 months away from Wembley. Like, you don't do that. That would be very dumb. The only thing I'm unsure of, as I look at the timing of everything, this main event is not taking place until June 30th. That's the very last day of this month. The finals of the Owen, the finals, are taking place on July 10th in Calgary. That's less than 2 weeks later. This tournament is going to start in a few weeks. So is Will Ospreay even going to be in the tournament? It wouldn't make any sense, right, for him to be in the tournament. If he's already got a world championship match at Forbidden Door, how do you justify having him in the tournament if he's already got a title shot? That's the only thing that concerns me and has me thinking there's a chance maybe he won't be in that tournament. But I think he should be, and I think he should win, and that's how he gets his rematch. And then you can put the title on him. Yeah, it's the same thing with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe had this short run, relatively short run, a few months, as the AEW World Champion. Didn't have that many title defenses, but I love Joe as the champion. Joe just looked the part, sounded the part when he was out there. He was out there spitting fire on the mic, cutting promos. The guy's a fucking boss. I loved it. And at Revolution, they did that triple threat with him and Swerve and Hangman. And I said, man, you know what? It's too soon. You don't want to take the title off Samoa Joe yet. And they did. Fast forward, not even a full 2 months later. Dynasty, right? Late April. It was time. The beginning of March wasn't the right time. By the time we got to Dynasty, it felt like Swerve's moment. There are just times where it's like, it doesn't feel right, but then it does. Now, it would still be a relatively short run for Swerve. I know some people would be upset if he goes to Wembley and loses the title, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen, whether it's to Will Ospreay or MJF or somebody else. I think, though, that now would be the wrong time to take that title away from him. And to put it on Will Ospreay in New York, again, to me, that would be very dumb. One thing that you could do, if you wanted to give him a little bit of an out, he is the international champion. Now, if he wants to defend his title at Forbidden Door, he could defend the international title in the opening match. You could put him in a match with somebody. Give somebody a crack at the international title. You know, maybe even somebody from New Japan. And he wins, right? Retains his title. But he just went through a grueling 15, 20-minute match at the beginning of the show. So if he comes back and loses in the main event, you could even use that as an out. I'm not even saying you need to do that. It's just an idea. You know, if you wanted that title defended on that show, because it's not going to be title for title in the main event. So that's another possible, thing that they could look into there. But that's how I see things playing out. Maybe it's just me hoping. I was listening to MJF in that opening segment, and boy, it certainly sounds like there's a chance they could be angling for, MJF against Bruv for the championship at Wembley Stadium. I think that would be not that it wouldn't be a big match, but I think that would be a huge mistake to rush right into that. I would absolutely not be doing that. So hopefully that's the way it plays out. Everything is there with the Owen and everything. It's set up perfectly. I'm just, again, a little unsure about the timing of when those Owen matches start. If Ospreay's even going to be in the damn thing. I'll tell you what I was surprised by. They did not announce, I don't believe, a single match for Collision. They announced some stuff for Rampage, nothing for Collision, which is rare. They usually announce at least one thing for Collision. But there was nothing that they announced on this show. I just was not a fan of this show overall. I like the open, I like the end, and I just didn't care all that much for what came in the middle. 2 segments does not make a great show. So I thought this episode was a swing and a miss. Not that they didn't forward certain stories they needed to forward. There's just nothing there. There's just nothing to get excited about. It was very dead in the middle of the show. They opened strong, they closed strong, but everything in the middle, completely missable, especially the Jericho stuff. Do yourself a favor, just skip over that. It's not worth your time. Here's a Dynamite poll. 40% thumbs up for tonight. 24%, 24.6 in the middle. 35% thumbs down. That's pretty close. Those numbers are all pretty bunched up there. That's with 1,200 plus votes in. I'm sure there's a lot of comments in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of divided opinion about this show. Definitely not what I would call a great episode of Dynamite tonight. Did not like it. Was not a fan of this show overall. Sorry. Didn't do it for me. Hopefully it did. Hopefully it did it for you. Hopefully it was better for you than it was for me. All right, let's get to your messages here. Let's forget the learning tree. The only learning tree you need is right here. You get an education from me. That's all you guys need to worry about. All right, let's go kick things off here with our boy.
Do you feel him, sir?
I do. I do feel him. There you go. Smoking dried chicken without flavor is starting us off here. The Acclaimed should consider planting, he means. He said planning. You forgot the T. Planting stink bombs inside the Bucks locker room. And he says, I would love to give Saraya a bucket of fried chicken from KFC so I can enjoy watching her eat it. And okay, I'll admit it, cool ain't the right word for NXT. I mean, those messages were all over the place. But thank you. Thank you all the same. Dick the Cock Johnson. Nigel McGuinness costs Bryan the Owen final against Hangman. I am calling it. Nah, I don't know. I don't see Nigel getting involved in, like, running in there and costing him. Although that would get Nigel some heat. If Danielson was this close from winning the Owen and then he got fucked over by Nigel McGuinness. But I don't know. What would be the impetus for him even doing that? Unless the story is that Nigel is just so desperate to get a match at Wembley Stadium and he hates Bryan so much that it just overwhelmed him and he just decided to randomly get up off the commentary desk and just go interfere in the man's match. It just feels a little forced to me. I would think that they can come up with a more simpler story if they want to get to Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness for a match. Oz and Glorious says, shout out to all the branches. Thanks, guys. And normalize tribalism. And shout out to the droning drones in the chat tonight. Oz with the $5 super chat. I have never seen Paige wrestle. How were or are her matches compared to Saraya matches in AEW? She seems to move a little bit slower than everybody else. She is, I think she's always been a little tentative in the ring. I mean, maybe a little more so now because it's understandable given her neck issues in the past. Honestly, I mean, her matches now aren't radically different from the matches I remember her having in WWE. I can't say that there's a huge difference. The Juliet, Asuka posted a photo of what looked like her knee post-surgery in a brace and seemingly on a hospital bed. Tough break for Asuka. Yeah, Asuka is dealing with a knee problem that's been plaguing her for several months, so hopefully she'll heal quickly because they need her back as soon as possible. I mean, think about it. The Raw Women's Division has now lost Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, and Asuka. And here I was coming out of the draft saying, holy shit, look at what Triple H did to the Raw Women's Division, right? He moved all of Damage Control over. He's got Becky. He's got Rhea. They called up Lyra Valkyria. This is what happens, you know? You get bit by the injury bug, or in the case of Becky, you know, the contract expired and she's going to go away for a while. Shit happens, and all of a sudden you're right back to the way things were. Not a lot of depth in the women's division on Raw all of a sudden. So they need Asuka and Rhea back as soon as possible. Paul Carpenter with the $5. Has anybody, or is, I guess he says, is anybody going to talk about how Adam Cole got buried? But anyway, watching old WWE clips when he was the wing angle brought in and what? I don't know what that means. And Adam Cole is hurt. I don't know what you want them to do. The Undisputed Kingdom has been a colossal failure. The Undisputed Kingdom sucks. Okay? That's the bottom line. I don't blame Adam Cole for that, but it sucks. But there's only so much they can do with somebody who's hurt and can't really do much. I mean, now at least he's able to walk around. He took a bump from MJF at Double or Nothing. That's a good sign, but he is still not ready to come back. That's why they did what they did. They basically blew the angle off because he's not going to be ready to come back for a while. But the Undisputed Kingdom is shit. And I would say let's wait until Adam Cole comes back and can actually get involved again before we say that the man is buried. Eric Perkins, thank you for the $1.99. HBKC83, what is the best heel versus heel match that you have seen? Not too many great ones that jump out to me. Heel against heel? I don't know. Heel against heel? I don't know. None that stand out to me as being any great shakes that I could really recommend to you, like a list of my 3 or 5 favorites. Nothing jumps out at me. I'm sure there's been some very good ones, though. Devin from New Jersey, does Solo wear polos? You must not be watching every stream, because occasionally I have wore polos right here on these streams. Double S, bro, your Tony Khan impression had me in tears. Thank you for the laugh. I'm glad you are entertained. I hope you were more entertained than you were watching Dynamite tonight. Oz and Glorious LOL at the Logan Paul apologist, crying about Roosh. Solomonster, the only fair and balanced creator left. Thank you, Oz. Jerome Eugenio, when Mariah and Tony Storm split up, who will be the face and who will be the heel? That is a very good question, and I feel like if it is based off of All About Eve, then I guess Tony would be the babyface, and Mariah would be the heel. Now, that doesn't mean that's the way the fans are going to take it. I would think, though, I would think just based on the story that it would be Tony as the babyface. But again, with the fans are going to gravitate to whoever they're going to gravitate to. and they could be very unpredictable. So I don't know who they're going to side with, but I would think Tony Storm. Oz and Glorious, Solomonster against Onions 2024. Finish the story. Dark Effect with the $100 super chat from earlier on in the stream. Dark Effect, man, I salute you. Thank you very much. Your idea with the Bucks and Tony Khan makes too much sense. Having Khan out for a while when the Bucks run roughshod. That's not what AEW is about. The only story they're invested in is for 14-year-old boys. I apologize if this sounds mean. I am just frustrated with AEW. Brother, you can vent all you want to. If you are a fan, then you care. And if you care, sometimes you're going to be frustrated and sometimes you're going to be happy. I think the worst thing that if you are Tony Khan or if you are AEW or if you are a wrestler, the worst thing in the world would be apathy and people who just don't care. You know, they can't even bring themselves to care enough to give a shit or really be invested at all. Apathy is the last thing that you want. You want that passion, you know, and sometimes the passion is going to be directed in a negative way, and sometimes the passion is going to be directed in a positive way. And some people can take the positive and they can't take the negative. And there's a lot of AEW stars on that roster who can't take the negative. We all know who they are. I don't need to name names. That's just the way it is. But brother, you can vent all you want to, man. That's what fans do. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Ted Evans. Just like hearing this super chat, keep up the good work. Thank you again, Ted. Bender McSimpson with the $4.99. With Swerve, Ospreay, and MJF, the main event scene in AEW is set for years to come. If they can stay healthy, then absolutely. But the way they have been just obliterated with injuries, I would like to hope that their injury problems are going to slow down. They have been hit by just a deluge of tough injuries. A lot of people still out, still going to be out for a while. I hope to God these three guys can stay healthy, and if that's the case, then you got three solid names right there at the top of the card that Tony Khan can depend upon. Oz and Glorious, I'd rather see 100 learning tree segments than listen to one more second of Daniel Garcia mumbling about grind, potential, and/or winning anything. And Timeless Tony Storm is the best thing on TV, period. She is great. Uffman says, how can one not love Timeless Tony Storm? I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. Oz says, Mariah on a pole match, bro. We may end up with something like that. It may be Mariah May on a pole. Dark Effect with the 25 spot, just showing the love. Solo, I haven't had a chance to catch the live streams lately. Life has been rough, but love the channel and the podcast. Thank you for what you do here every week. Dark Effect, thank you very much. You know where to find me. Anytime you need to kick back and decompress, that's what these streams are good for. Smoking Dry Chicken says Private Party is going to ask for HBK's number. No cap. If Ospreay beats Swerve, this run has been a failure amongst countless other world champions for AEW. Look, Swerve is putting the work in. Every time he goes out there, man, he's having kick-ass matches. He's doing everything right. He's doing everything he can. You know, he was on Busted Open Radio this week. And I saw a couple of clips, and I saw Bully Ray made a comment. Again, honestly, it's not even a big deal. But he made a comment, and I think he was referring to either Double or Nothing or Forbidden Door coming up as their upcoming PLE. And Swerve corrected him and said, no, we don't do PLEs. We do pay-per-views. And Bully sounded like, you know, he was not happy about being checked by Swerve. And again, in the grand scheme, it's not a big deal. But like this guy, you know, he's setting people straight. Like, hey, we don't do that here. That's the other guys. We do pay-per-views, which is true. I just paid $50 for the last one. So he's not wrong. But like, he's been out there doing interviews, and he's been out there representing as the champion, representing the brand and representing the company and doing a fine job. And yes, if he drops that title at Forbidden Door, I think that is the biggest slap in the man's face that Tony Khan could possibly give him. I just think it's the wrong move. I think it would be a big mistake. I think it would be very short-sighted. And I'm hoping and expecting that will not happen. But, you know, Tony Khan may be looking at Wembley, and he may be looking at that and going, man, I want to sell more tickets, and I'm looking at the shiny new toy, which is, well, you know, this would be a great match, but man, this match would be a bigger match. You know, this match would be a dream match. We got to go with this match. And, you know, all of a sudden you pivot this way and Swerve is left out in the cold. And I'm hoping that is not the case. I don't want to see that. I think you take him at least to Wembley, at least. And then if you want to change the title, you change the title there. Dev to Dust. Buzzer or bell? Darby Allin against Mike Awesome. Oh my God, that's a huge bell. Are you kidding me? Do you know what Mike Awesome would do to Darby Allin? Can you imagine Darby Allin taking an Awesome bomb? How far he would probably be thrown? Arabian Night. After that Andrade tweet, Tony Khan be like, okay, I'm gonna push Roosh in a program with a non-Latino and our top guy, follow that, Triple H. Tweet is incoming. Smoking dried chicken with the 5. Fuck it. I'm setting the bar real low tonight. This chicken here would watch the Bella or Garcia twins over the Bucks. Bree Mode and Rack Attack City. You know, be careful what you wish for. I've seen Nikki Bella in interviews talk about the possibility of maybe coming to AEW one day. It's not far-fetched that the twins may end up there at some point for a short run. You know, Bree's husband is there. They don't have any connection to WWE anymore. Red Emissary of Darkness. A well-timed fuck Bully Ray, Bully the Clown super chat, $30 from Uffman. Thank you, brother. Red Emissary of Darkness, has there been too much Ospreay too soon? He wasn't even on the show tonight. No, I'm of the mindset that we can't get enough Ospreay, because Ospreay right now, for my money, is the best in the world. I look forward to seeing this man when he's out there in the ring doing his thing. His promos have really come along, I think, since joining AEW. I think he's fantastic. Yeah, you can overexpose him, but do I think he's been overexposed? No. No, not yet. Dark Effect, to me, Joe and MJF are the epitome of what an AEW champion should be. Joe is the epitome of what a world champion should be. Barry MK says, just watch the opening match to the 2005 Great American Bash, where LOD beats Eminem for the tag team titles, and it's just really sad seeing Animal without Hawk. Yeah, you know, I felt that way also whenever I occasionally come across Hawk in the early 90s in Japan with Power Warrior. You know, when he and Animal had their split, it's just not the same. It's just not. Yeah, when you have an iconic team like that, you can't replace the other person and expect it to be the same. It's just not. Uffman says, hopefully it was better for you than it was for me. Something you don't want her to say. Well, I said it about Dynamite tonight, but that is true. You make a good point. No cap, MJF, Undisputed Kingdom feud over. For the time being, yes, but it's just on the back burner right now. Adam Cole is not ready to come back. Kevin Jordan, what's your thoughts on the main event of Wembley being a triple threat match? No. No. Triple threat match with Danielson, Swerve, and Ospreay. I think that would be an excellent match, but I am of the mindset that it should be one-on-one. And we don't see very many three-ways. Not that they don't do them, but they don't abuse them in the way that WWE does or did. So, look, it would be a great match. I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I think I would love to see Nigel get that match with Danielson. You get 2 big matches out of it instead of one. So, I wouldn't do it. I want it to be one-on-one. BComC, clearly that was Saraya's best match in a while, to be honest. It was okay. I mean, it was her best match in a while. When was the last time we saw Saraya at a one-on-one match on Dynamite? By default, it was her best match in a while. Mariah May's been having very good matches on TV. So, it was good. But I can't say it was anything more than that. Smoking Dried Chicken, Karrion Kross being moved to Raw equals the best decision. Well, the jury is out on that. I still have not seen anything all that different from what he was doing on SmackDown. So, let's see where this New Day story goes before we start judging Karrion Kross's move to Raw. Paul Carpenter with the 5. When was the Winged Eagle title brought in? I was watching old clips and saw Hogan with the title, and it wasn't the Winged Eagle. I started watching in 87, 88. So the introduction of the Winged Eagle is very weird, because the very first appearance that title ever made on television was on NBC, the night that Hogan had his rematch with Andre on the main event. Some people think it was WrestleMania 4. They had the tournament. Robin Leach was out there. He brought the belt down to the ring. The first appearance of the Winged Eagle was on the main event in February of 88. I think it was February 5th of 88. What's weird about it is Hogan was in the back for a promo, supposedly right before. And he was still wearing the old belt. When he came out for the match, he had the Winged Eagle on. It was very strange. Like, he was with one belt in the back, and then he came out with a totally new belt. There was no pomp and circumstance. There was no big unveiling or big introduction or anything like that. It just was, there it is. Like, holy shit, he's got a new belt. And that was the introduction of the Winged Eagle. So that would have been the beginning of February of 88. Oz and Glorious, great stream tonight. Solomonster, thanks, guy. Thank you, Oz. Oz was all over the stream tonight, man. I like seeing it. Smoking Dried Chicken, we can agree to disagree, but NXT is hot, cooking, and sexy. I thank Shawn Michaels for catering to a young and youthful hip crowd. Hip crowd? Is Sexy Red hip? Because I heard her music. If that's what hip is, then I don't need to be hip. Uffman says, Bully Ray feels Swerve talk down to him. Well then, I say. And then he dropped the Bully the Clown. There you go. Uffman, thank you. Give me back shots, Solomonster. Have you watched Javon Evans? Thoughts on him? I've only seen a couple of matches of his, and I think there's potential there. I can't say that I see him blossoming anytime soon into a major star. He's still very young. We have to give him time. But I think that he's got certain skills and certain, elements to him and his character that he's playing on TV. I think that could work very well for a babyface on TV. So I think there's potential. But it's too early to say anything more than that. Boney, you need to understand, these Jericho segments are necessary to build him up so that he can eventually take the title from Swerve or Ospreay at Wembley. Well, fuck me. I mean, how did I not see it? Boney, you know what? Boney is absolutely right. I think I've misjudged this entire thing. Now it all makes sense. We're all going to be sitting under the learning tree. They could actually bring a giant tree into Wembley Stadium and have it hanging, standing next to the ring, and the tree will overhang the ring. Yeah, that'll be great. Base Beerus, heel versus heel. Randy against Edge on Raw in 2007 from the RKO days, rated RKO. JBL against Angle, last man standing. Also, Orton, Batista, and Brock did a porno. My God. Orton, Batista, and and Brock did a promo in 2014. Yeah, but that's not a match, though. What I said was very different. Orton, Batista, and Brock did not do a porno. They did a promo in 2014. And if they did do a porno, then I have no knowledge of that. Barry MK, also, if you don't know already, Vice posted the WCW doc in full to YouTube. I did see it. If you are interested in watching that first episode of Who Killed WCW, because God knows that topic hasn't been beaten into the fucking ground, you can watch it. The first episode of this new season is up on the Vice YouTube channel. I am halfway through the episode. It's not anything that I'm going to be doing a full-blown review for, like I did for Dark Side of the Ring, because, I mean, honestly, there's nothing to review. But I am watching it. I'm not done with the episode yet. I mean, it's well done, you know, and they actually do have some exclusive footage at the very beginning that's never been released before. They actually opened the episode with it behind the scenes at the very last Nitro in Panama City Beach. So, like, there's some cool footage like that. But again, it's just regurgitating the same story that we've heard a gazillion times before. I always love the Eric Bischoff thing also, by the way, of walking into that meeting at Turner, and there's Ted Turner, and there's all these executives at Turner Broadcasting, and Ted Turner turns to him and says, "Eric, what do we need to do to compete with the WWF?" And Eric didn't know the question was coming, and he goes, "Well, you know, they're airing in prime time on a Monday night. We're airing at 6:05 on a Saturday. We can't compete with them." And Ted Turner turns and tells one of his stooges, he says, I think the guy's name may have been Eric. "Eric, give Bischoff 2 hours on TNT every Monday night." And that's a nice story. I mean, it's a cute little story, except for the fact that Raw was not 2 hours and Nitro was not 2 hours in '95. So I don't know where he got 2 hours from. Maybe he just told that story so many times over the years that he actually believes it, or it was an hour, but he says 2 hours for some reason. Like, even Nitro wasn't, 2 hours week to week at the very beginning. I mean, Raw didn't go 2 hours until '97. Anyway, I always get a kick out of that. So those are the Super Chats. There you go. Thank you guys very much for the support tonight. I appreciate it very much. We are currently sitting at 419 likes, which I like to see that, because that's enough for us to do some Be the Booker. I thought we might have to get out of here without doing it, but thank you for the likes. So let's go ahead and make it happen. Let's be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Yep, Raw and Nitro were both an hour in the early days. They didn't go to 2 hours until later on, so maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe Ted Turner said to the guy, "Give Eric 2 hours," and maybe the executive was like, "No, we'll give him an hour." Maybe that's what happened. Wrestlers and their stories. As soon as they announced the series and they showed, and there's tons of interviews, like they interviewed Bret Hart and Goldberg and Conan and DDP and Bischoff and Kevin Sullivan and all these different people, Kevin Nash. And I'm like, how many different lies and variations of stories are going to be told in this series? I wonder. Doesn't look like they interviewed Hogan. So the lie count is only going to go so high. If Hogan were on there, the lie count would be through the roof. I don't think he was interviewed for this. Okay, here we go. Tag team Be the Booker. We begin with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. This was them from their dumpster match at WrestleMania 40 or 14. not 40. We did not have the ghost of Terry Funk at WrestleMania this year. I stand corrected. All right. Cactus Jack and Terry Funk going to be taking on the New Day. Look, I'm tired of the New Day, like I know many of you are at this point. They've been together for 10 fucking years, but their resume speaks for itself. Certainly one of the best tag teams WWE has had in the last 20 years. And you put them against Cactus Jack and Terry Funk, that would be a big match. No matter what you may think, no matter how played out you may think the New Day is right now, that would be a marquee match. All right, women's Be the Booker. Let's move over to the ladies' side. And we begin with Lana. Happy Lana Day. That's what her shirt says. Lana is going to go one-on-one with Willow Nightingale. I hate to do this. I really do, because I like Willow a lot. I really do. I like Willow Nightingale, but she ain't no miracle worker. Not even Willow Nightingale can work miracles. And that's a buzzer. That's a bummer and a buzzer. Sorry. All right, main event time. Here we go. Let's do it. Main event time. We begin with El Hijo del Vikingo, the former AAA Mega Champion. Vikingo out, currently nursing a knee injury, which is not surprising given the style that he works, but that is where Vikingo has been. Vikingo has been out. So it looks like tonight, here in Be the Booker, we're booking ourselves a Rampage main event. Vikingo in the Rampage main event is going to be wrestling Kenny Omega. Well, that's a main event that you could certainly put on Dynamite. Actually, we did get that match on Dynamite, right? We got that match, I think, in March of last year. We had Kenny Omega against Vikingo on Dynamite. I do remember that. And that was a hell of a match, too. Vikingo and Kenny Omega. This is the second stream in a row, I think, where we have gone 2 for 3. Based Beerus, God of Seduction, I mean WrestleMania 30 was technically WrestleMania XXX. Well, you really want that porno, don't you? Hey, whatever floats your boat. I was at that WrestleMania, okay? Don't go sullying that WrestleMania. That actually was one of the greatest WrestleManias they ever did. What is my opinion on the Coffee Brothers? I just say that. I say that out loud. I just picture the I just picture them walking to the ring like with a big bag of beans. But what's your opinion of the Coffee Brothers and Wolfgang from NXT? Gallus, yes. I think Gallus is good. I like Gallus. I don't have anything against Gallus. I wouldn't be shocked to see Gallus end up with Drew McIntyre on the main roster. You know, Drew may need some backup to protect him from CM Punk fucking his world title chances over at Clash at the Castle next weekend. Which I only just realized today, by the way, that I actually will not be around next Saturday, so I will not be watching Clash at the Castle live, which I don't know how I don't know how I didn't realize that, but that's for next weekend. Base Beerus. Be the Booker Fatal 4-Way was fun. Waiting for Painmaker Jericho to make another appearance soon. Yes, Painmaker is in Be the Booker. He is unmistakable. Whenever we have landed on him in the past, it's hard for me to keep a straight face, but he is in there. You know what I'm going to have to do now? I think I'm going to have to add the learning tree to Be the Booker. I think so. Smoking Dried Chicken says, Billy the Puppet from Saw giving you 3 options. Go through flaming tables for $1 million. Walk barefoot on thumbtacks for $5,000. I will go through the flaming table because you didn't say anything about not putting any flame retardant, whatever that stuff is. It's some kind of grease or lotion or whatever that's called. Like Jack Perry had it all over himself at Double or Nothing. You didn't say there's no rule against that. So as long as I am well protected, I'll go through the table and I will take my $1 million. Gel. That's the word. What did I say? Lotion. Lotion. Gel. Flame retardant gel that they rub on you. Devin from New Jersey coming in. Does Brawl Out and Brawl In live rent-free in Solo's head? Apparently not. Since you're the one who brought it up, I haven't mentioned it in months. I think it lives rent-free in your head, my friend. You got to move on, brother. You got to leave that in the past. Chris Manson, 37 months of channel membership. Says, who do Britt and Jamie Hayter feud with when they come back? Tony versus Mariah has to be the all-in match. Yeah, Tony and Mariah is going to be the all-in match. You know, Britt and Jamie, I guess part of it depends on whether they come back as heels or baby faces. I would think they come back as baby faces. But it's only a matter of time before we see Britt and Mercedes mix it up. See, this is why I liked the idea of putting Camille with Mercedes as her enforcer. And you could have built eventually, and you still could do it, you know, build eventually to Mercedes and Camille against, you know, Britt and Jamie. I think that could have been something. Again, not to say they still can't do it, but doesn't look like they're going to. Base Beer says, buy or sell, Teddy Long or Vicky Guerrero as the GM of SmackDown? Teddy Long. Gotta go, Teddy Long. Fire lotion, yes. No, it's you know, maybe they should call it that. They should call it fire lotion. They could sell that over the counter. Everybody always needs to keep a bottle of fire lotion on hand. You never know when you may need it. I think we may have hit on a new product here. Her problem solver. Exactly. Camille could be her problem solver. She has a problem, and Camille solves it for her. I don't know what's going on with Camille. I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing. I have no idea. I see Britt and Jamie coming back as baby faces. Yes. I am of the same opinion. Did I watch the WCW doc? As I just said, I am halfway through the first episode. So I have not finished it, but I am watching it. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it on Sunday because there isn't much to talk about. I might give some very brief thoughts on it. Unless in the last half of the episode, Bischoff says something so fucking egregious that I just can't help myself. But from what I saw, it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's pretty much what I expected. Yeah, I kind of laughed because Rock is in it. Now, I know it's Rock's production company that's making the show. But I'm like, Rock has no business being in this. I mean, I guess Rock is in there to give the WWF perspective on things, but the fuck is Rock doing in this? Like, the hell are you in there for? I saw him. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing in there? Austin. Now, Austin, I could see. Austin worked for Bischoff. He worked for WCW. He could talk about being fired and leaving and going to work for the other company and catching fire and taking off and leading the Attitude Era. But I don't know that Rock had to be in that. Did I see FX show clipped Solomonster? You had Al Bundy playing old Clipper team. I have no idea what you're talking about. Joey, I need you to translate, brother. I don't know what you're referring to. Base Beer says early 90s Vader against 2011 Mark Henry. Who you got, Vader? Vader all the way. I've said it many times in the past. You want the ultimate kind of dream match. You take that early 90s Big Van Vader, and you put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Really, it could be Brock from any era, even 2002 Brock. But you take that Vader and you take Brock, that would have been a match. I don't think it would have lasted very long, but that would have been a hell of a match. Rock only on it because he's the EP of the document. Yes, I know. That's what I just said. Doesn't mean he has to be in the actual show. You could be the executive producer and stay off camera. Miguel says the only part that still makes me mad is Bischoff blaming Sting for WCW Starrcade 97. Yeah, I mean, it's always been just fucking nonsense. I understand that Sting may have been going through some shit during that time. I think his marriage was falling apart, and who knows? He may have been doing stuff he shouldn't have been doing. I'm sure a lot of those guys were. But the idea that always tries to do is cover for Hogan. That's all he's doing. I mean, if you understand the idea that if Hulk Hogan were walking down the street and he stopped short, that Eric Bischoff would have brown all over his nose. If you understand that, then you get it, because he will always try to cover for Hulk. They're buddies, they're friends, they're business partners. They work together even in TNA. They came in together. He will defend that man to the death. And we all know why things went down the way they did at Starrcade. And you didn't have to be moseying around the backstage area, I think, to have a good sense of why things went down the way they did. They went down the way they did because of one man, and that man was not Sting. That man was Hulk Hogan. That's it. And if you don't believe that, and you think there's any other explanation for why that all went down the way it did, you're being very naive. I think most people understand that. And Grant says, not tonight, brother. Hulk at Starrcade. The thing that's so messed up about it, he lost that night. He still lost the title, but just the way he went about doing it, it's like, dude, if you're going to, literally went with the worst possible outcome to that entire situation. It just, even all these years later, it still boggles the mind how badly that was bungled, but it's all ego. It's all ego, and I'm not talking Ethan Page. It's all ego. That's all it is. That's all it ever was. Shawn Michaels learned that in 2005. Shawn Michaels tried to outclass the master politician. He got out politicked. Yeah, I have no sympathy for him either. Anyway, good stuff. Good questions. Thank you for the support. Always appreciated. I will be live with you back here on the channel on Friday night. We're going to be talking SmackDown. Hopefully is a better show than last week, although that was a great closing angle. But even SmackDown, I think SmackDown last week was like, eh. A lot of these shows now, I don't know. I know what's going on these last few weeks, man. It's like, eh. Raw had some good stuff on Monday night. Let's hope we get a good SmackDown on Friday. And then I will be at the House of Glory show on Saturday. And then we got the podcast on Sunday. And then we got Raw next Monday. And then we got TNT with me and JD next Tuesday. And then we have Dynamite next Wednesday. This train never stops, man. It just keeps going. Hop on. Doors open. Last stop. Hop on the train. I will see you guys on Friday night. If you missed the Raw review, go back and check it out. If you missed TNT with me and JD, we had some good discussions on his channel last night. And make sure you hit that like button on your way out. I love you all. Let's do it again Friday night. Until then, take care, guys.